Hey there, welcome back to Creepy Encounters. In today's video, that one time I'm pretty sure I was almost human trafficked. Possibly almost kidnapped, and other experiences I had as a minor. Bad man at Waffle House. I want to share a story about the day I learned that the world isn't necessarily a friendly place and that dangerous situations aren't just something that happens in movies and TV shows. This is a friendly reminder for my fellow girls that you must under all circumstances trust your gut, and that you can always say no to something that makes you feel uncomfortable. Before you proceed, I have no proof of this actually being an attempted human trafficking situation, it's just what my friends and I suspect. I'm also not a native English speaker, so please excuse my bad grammar and style of writing. So back in 2018, when I was a 20-year-old college girl, I booked a solo vacation for myself for Christmas. I wanted to experience the Berlin Christmas markets and thought that I would be safe with hundreds of people being out in the streets in the dark. On my second day, I decided to visit the Alexanderplatz market at around 8 to 9 p.m. You might know it as the square with the huge world clock, a popular tourist destination. As I am standing in front of the clock, a man proceeds to approach me. In rather broken English, he asked me if I could take a picture of him. My initial guess was that he was probably a tourist as well, so I said sure and took the super old, ragged-looking 2000s flip phone he handed to me. I thought it was weird for someone who was rather well-dressed to have an old phone like this, but I agreed nonetheless. As I took a few steps back to get the world clock into a better view, we waved for me to come back. "Not here, the light is too weak," he said, signing for me to follow him. I was naive and well-meaning and also felt like I couldn't say no at this point, so I followed him. The many people around me also gave me a false sense of security. As he proceeded to walk away from the Christmas market, I got a weird feeling in my stomach, unlike anything I've ever felt up until this point. I think I can only describe it as an urge to throw up, with my whole body tensing. "I don't think the light is any better here, don't you want to have the market in the background?" Or something along the lines of this is what I remember saying. He doesn't answer and just stalks on ahead. Finally, he stopped and so did I. We were at a rather dark corner just off of Alexanderplatz, far from the crowd on the Christmas market. I still had his phone in my hand as he turned around and smiled, indicating for me to take his picture. This was when I noticed two guys coming out of a small alleyway behind the Christmas market booths. There was no one else, as we were in a sort of alleyway ourselves. They slowly started walking in my direction, pretending not to look at me, while the guy that led me there took a step towards me as well, his smile disappearing and him suddenly looking very grim. At that moment I didn't have a single thought in my head. My body acted as if it suddenly switched on autopilot. I dropped his phone on the ground without hesitation, turned on my heel and ran back like the devil. I don't remember ever running this fast. The second I was with other people on the market square, I turned around to check whether or not the guys followed me. They were still standing where I had left them and were watching me in silence. Not saying anything, not smiling, not even picking up the phone I dropped. Just three guys next to each other watching me with eerie expressions, their hands in their jacket pockets, not even looking puzzled as to why I just took off. I only now realized what happened. At first I thought that they probably planned on mugging me. I'm 5 feet 2 inches and have a petite build, so there's no way I could have done anything had they decided to jump me. It's only after I text my friends at home that one of them suggests they could have tried to kidnap me or force me into a human trafficking situation. I blended into the crowd as best as I could and tried to stay with people walking towards the tram. The ride back to the hotel was a real tug on my nerves, with me constantly feeling like they might have followed me or could have been on the same train. The first experience I can remember was when I was around the age of 13. This would have been 2010. I was at my old elementary school during winter. It was a place my friends and I used to gather at in Tacoma, Washington. I remember the sky was getting dark fast, so I started to head home. I lived about 5 blocks away from here, so my dad wasn't too concerned about me being out, but his rule was always to be home before dark, of course. When I was on the street in front of the school, a man probably in his 40s 50s driving a red pickup truck pulls up next to me. He asked me if I wanted a ride home, because it was cold and the roads were covered in snow and ice, but I politely declined. Immediately had weird vibes from this man that I now notice resembles the Green River Killer. The glasses, the mustache. Full-on serial killer look was my observation at the time, and still is lol. He asked me again if I was sure I didn't want a ride. He also may have called me sweetie. Again I declined. This time he seemed to have gotten the hint and drove away. Still being slightly creeped out, I continued walking home. Not long after, I saw his truck driving by me on the next block. At that point I was completely terrified. Checked my phone, it was dead. FML. I started trying to walk faster and realized it was too icy, so I couldn't even run if I wanted to. I keep my phone in my hands at all times still, pretending it's on just in case. Which is probably not the best idea, but at that time it seemed like pretending I had a means to communicate was important. Maybe the next block or two, I see him circle me again. He's driving around the blocks, not directly down the main road I'm walking on. He does this at least 3 times before I head into my apartment complex. I make sure he's not around before I head inside. I told my dad, but he kind of brushed me off. In my mind I was sure I was in danger, and if I were naive, something bad would have happened that night. Another shorter experience I had was when I was 16, walking to my high school in the morning, probably around 7 a.m. A man seemingly in his 30s pulls up next to me. Nice car, doesn't have an overall creepy look, besides the fact he was wearing sunglasses, which seemed odd. He asked me if I want to hang out, and I tell him I'm walking to school, giving away I'm not an adult, and have somewhere to be. I believe I told him I'm 16, but he tries to pressure me to get into his car, still knowing that. Again I say no thank you, but I have to get to school. His intentions were obviously not good. Luckily I wasn't followed. These are just the times I remember clearly, but there were more. Even walking to / from school or just walking around my area, people would catcall me as I walked by, or from their car. I remember getting honked at a lot and seeing men looking at me. I remember getting stopped by random men trying to get my number, and my age not being a deterrent. My neighborhood wasn't terrible then in terms of crime. I felt safe many nights being out alone and walking home. But that didn't last long. I believe because I was an average-looking, biracial girl whose body was a little more developed at my age, was the reason older men were most likely drawn to me. I started hiding my body as early as 13 by wearing large hoodies all the time because of unwanted attention I would get. As for the first man, I often think about the dangers I could have been in if that night had gone differently. It might not seem that bad to some people, but sometimes, especially as a girl, you just get a feeling for these things and the bad intentions someone might have for you. I felt it in my gut. His eyes didn't seem kind, and the way he talked to me didn't give me the feeling that he was just some nice person just wanting to give me a ride home. I wonder if any girls had gone missing during that time. I wonder if he lived nearby or was just visiting the area. Thank you for reading. I just wanted to get this off my chest, so I'm sorry if everything isn't cohesive. Me and my friend had gone to Waffle House around 10 p.m. and there were lots of PPL there. My friend kept complaining about how a dude was staring at her, but she's very striking, and I figured the dude was just flirting with her. Finally I turn around and I look and a chill runs down my spine. Absolutely dead eyes, and this man is staring right past me, fixated on my best friend. I thought this was weird because I thought he would look at me, since I made it very obvious when I looked at him that I was kinda pissed off. It was a real stop fricking looking at us look that I gave him. My friend is kinda panicking because she is just so creeped out, so I'm like, okay, let's check out and leave. He's to the right of the register, and I looked at him almost the whole time we were checking out. At one point I literally got right in front of my friend, like shielding her because she was really so stressed. She doesn't get spooked easily either, so when I stood in front of her he started leaning to the side looking around me to stay staring at her. I was pissed because I hate when men feel entitled to make women uncomfortable, and plus his eyes were so wrong. Just completely black and terrifying. He really had crazy eyes that were really wide open, and he never blinked for the 5 minutes I was staring right back at him. We peeked at him through the window on the way out of the parking lot, and he was still staring right at my friend. Very creepy, and it just reminded me to be aware of everything around me and to always trust my own or my friend's intuitions. When we feel something is wrong, I just go ahead and assume something really is wrong and we need to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more real-life creepy encounters around the world. See you in the next video. Bye.